Liz, and this is Fit Liz Kitchen, where it's Liz. That's me, it's no one else in here. Why am I such a dork? And I'm getting fit, well, friggin' trying, and this is my kitchen where I cook things. Yeah. So hi, I'm Liz, and I make whole food, plant-based, no oil recipes. I love to share them with the internet. I eat this way. I've been eating vegan for 7 years, been eating whole food, plant-based for like 2-ish years. And I started eating this way as a way to, not eating vegan, I started eating whole food, plant-based as a way to release extra weight, but I'm gonna continue eating this way for the rest of my life because it just makes me feel my best. So far on my journey, I've lost about 165, it's like 167 pounds, but you know, the scale is just being kind of a jerk. So yeah, roughly 165 plus pounds on this way of eating. And yeah, I'm just gonna continue eating this way. Just probably when I get to my maintenance weight, I'll probably eat just a little bit more. And that sounds great. So anyway, today I'm bringing you a full day of eating of what I eat in a day to lose fat and try and build muscle. Doing those two things at the same time are kind of hard because you have to eat in a calorie deficit to lose weight, but you have to consume enough calories to fuel your body and repair the muscle if you want to build muscle. So those things are hard. If one of those things is your goal, then hopefully you'll find some inspiration in today's eating, and hopefully you'll just find some good food ideas. So if you're new here, please like this video by giving it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. I would love to have you join my little tiny community here. I love posting new videos and sharing recipes with you all. I'm trying to get back into a regular posting schedule, and leave me a comment in the comments section if you can be nice. Please be nice. Let me know in the comments if you have an idea for a future video that you'd like to see, or if you have any comments on this video, please be nice. If you have any questions, let me know. Yeah, so let's just get into the video and I will show you everything I ate today. God, I'm such a dork. All right, so it's time for breakfast, and if you've seen this channel before, you already know what I'm eating. I don't know what I'm doing. You already know what I'm eating. It's a fruit and yogurt bowl because that is what I'm obsessed with. I found this meal at first as a dessert in October of 2023, and then I decided to start trying it for breakfast. Being that I was not a breakfast person, I have never been a breakfast person, and if I was eating breakfast, it certainly wouldn't be a sweet breakfast, it would be savory breakfast. But this meal changed my mind. I have had this meal for breakfast every day since. Maybe 1 or 2 days I didn't because I was traveling or something. So that's what we're making today, and you see 2 bowls not because I'm gonna have 2, I wish, but no, this one is Paul's and this one is mine. So we're gonna start by I'm trying to speed things along, so I already microwaved my fruit. You can let your frozen fruit just thaw like on the counter or in the fridge if that works better for you. This works better for me. In each bowl I have a full cup of frozen wild blueberries and then a half cup of frozen mixed berries, like 4 frozen cherries. So for my bowl, we have ground flaxseed. I like to freshly grind my flaxseed. Paul gets a little bit more flaxseed, raw sunflower seeds, and raw pumpkin seed. When I eat at my maintenance calories, I will be definitely incorporating more seeds and nuts, not too many, but you know, a little bit for the vitamins and nutrients. But right now, the calories and the fat from them are just a little too high, so I just limit myself. Next, I'm gonna do wheat germ. I love adding wheat germ. I will add a link in the description box below for why I add this and all this other stuff. This is a great thing to add for more vitamins and nutrients. Obviously, don't add it if you're gluten-free. Yeah, so I just do a tablespoon of each of those, a tablespoon for each of us. That's what I meant to say. Next is Ceylon cinnamon. Again, I will leave links for everything in the description box below. This is ground cardamom. This is a really great spice to add to anything sweet. I really like it in like chocolate thing. I put it in my plant-based chocolate sauce. I have ground ginger here. This is also anti-inflammatory, and I just really, I didn't give myself enough here. I really like the kick that it gives. The next thing I have is cranberry powder. This brand is a pain to open because you have to use their little scoop. I mean, you don't have to, but I'm trying out different brands right now because the brand that I was using just kind of expensive, and I'm looking to save a bit of money on my groceries. Next is amla powder. I love taking amla powder because I think it tastes vaguely like candy. I mean, I wouldn't just straight up eat the powder, but it smells delicious. I think it tastes great. A lot of people don't like the taste. I don't know if it's just the brand or if maybe it's just me. I don't know. But this is the brand I use, Terrasol. And then I have maca powder, same brand. This is great for supporting the reproductive system, great for helping with people who are looking to increase their fertility. It also boosts like energy levels, and honestly, it tastes so good. It tastes like, I don't know, oh god, it smells like butterscotch or like the center of like malted milk balls. If you put this in a chocolate like smoothie or chocolate shake, so delicious. All right, it's time for adding yogurt. I have my homemade soy yogurt here. This is going to be a little bit thinner than the yogurt you saw in my homemade soy yogurt video, which I will leave linked in the description box below, because it really depends on the type of milk that you use. It's all soy milk, but there are different concentrations, right? So the Eden Soy brand that I used in that video has a higher amount of calories, meaning that there's a lower water ratio in there. This one is from Trader Joe's. It is a higher water ratio. It's only 100 calories and I think a little bit more watery, so the yogurt turns out a little bit thinner. I also, to save money, there is water that forms at the top of the jar and we just mix it in, which kind of extends the amount of yogurt we have. You can pour that off and your yogurt will be thicker. I'm mixing this into this yogurt bowl anyway, so it really doesn't matter to me if it's super thick or not. And like I said, trying to save money. So I will say making your own yogurt is a lot cheaper than buying it at the store, and you can control what goes in it. There's only, soy milk, which is just soybeans and water, and probiotic in this yogurt. There's no fillers, there's no gums, there's no sugars, no sweeteners, nothing. You can add your own sweetener. Paul likes to add maple syrup. I like to add, I like to make messes is what I like to do. Sometimes I add date syrup to mine, but lately I add stevia because I am trying to release extra fat, and I know some people will tell me that stevia is not whole food plant-based or it's not ideal, and they may be right. But it's what I have to do right now. I have to watch my calories very carefully. Losing weight is always hard. Losing fat is always hard. But when you get down to the last however many pounds, like I don't want to say the last 10 because I feel like I have more than 10 to lose, but I don't really know because I'm working on building muscle at the same time and it's transforming my body way faster than the scale is moving. So I don't know how much more weight I want to lose. I definitely want to lose a little bit more, but it gets so much harder when you get closer to your goal weight. And all I had to do was eat healthy and exercise a little before, and the weight just flew off. And now it's like I can be perfect and lose nothing, or like 0.2 a month. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculously slow. I think I kind of messed up my metabolism. I'm going to try and figure that out. But what I'm saying is that if you need to temporarily use stevia as a tool, I don't see a problem with that. If I need to temporarily use a little bit of protein powder to get to my goals, I don't see a problem with that. It's a temporary thing. It's not the way I plan on eating for the rest of my life. And also, it's my body, and if you don't like stevia, if you don't want to use that, then don't use it. Use maple syrup, use date syrup, use date paste, use the sweetener of your choice. Okay, now what? Mixy mix time. So I just like to spread the ground stuff across the yogurt first before I start mixing it around. Otherwise, it kind of all spills. I now have a fashionable accessory on my sweatshirt. I think I'm spotting more parts where I got berry juice. Okay, well this is going in the wash in a moment. So yeah, be very careful when you're stirring. Maybe wear a shirt that you don't care about. What I like about using thawed frozen berries for this is that the juices kind of stay in the bottom, and then when you mix the yogurt in, it flavors it and also gives you this beautiful color. Now I'm going to put some fresh berries on top. I have blackberries and chopped strawberries. I really like the mixture of fresh and frozen berries. Can you tell what my favorite fruit is? And then I like to add little segments of cutie on top. I really just love the flavor, but citrus is good too. All right, so we have our fruit bowl, and I like to refrigerate this while I make my drink. So So now I'm gonna make what I like to call my matcha inspired beverage. It's not a proper matcha latte. It's not even a smoothie. It's just a blended matcha drink with really cheap matcha, because that's what I have to do right now. Save money, but I add flavoring, so it doesn't matter too much. I miss quality matcha. I definitely recommend Ippodo tea. I'll link that in the description box below. That is my favorite matcha brand. Froth is another good one. So I use soy milk in this too, but I don't use very much because, again, I'm trying to keep calories low. So I use about 1/3 of a cup of soy milk, and then I use about 2 cups of water. Next we'll do the matcha. This is matcha I get from Costco. It gets the job done. I don't drink coffee because it kind of makes my stomach hurt, even cold brew, and it gives me the jitters. So this is how I get my caffeine, and green tea is very good for you. Next, I'm gonna do plant protein, and a lot of people will disagree with using protein powder. That's fine, don't add it. This gives it some body. If you wanna give it body without, make it thicker, so it's not just like blended water, you can add a frozen banana, would be really good. I am adding the extra protein because I am spending a lot of time strength training in the gym, and I want to give my muscles what they need to repair. So I just do 1 serving of that. This is a plain plant-based protein powder. It's just organic pea protein and organic quinoa powder. And I am adding stevia. I know that some people won't approve, and that's fine. You don't have to approve. You can add whatever sweetener you like. Once I'm done losing extra fat and move more to like a maintenance type way of eating, I will probably, I'm definitely gonna move to a natural sweeteners like dates and maple syrup. It's just, I can't eat those things right now because they're too high in calories, and yes, I've tried and I do gain weight on them, so. All right, one last thing I'm gonna add is a little peppermint extract. I really like this because it makes it taste like mint ice cream, and that's my favorite. Definitely don't have to add this. I only add a tiny amount, probably less than a 1/4 teaspoon, because those things are strong. Definitely add what you like. If you want to add vanilla extract, that would be good in this too. And then I always blend in a cup of ice to make it cold. And then while this blends, I just like to put things away. I blend it for about 1.5 minutes. And I'm just gonna pour it. It's not all gonna fit, but that's okay, because I'll come back for seconds. Okay, so I'm back. I have my various beverages. I have water and I have my matcha inspired drink. Just gotta take a little sip. Oh my gosh, so good. Yeah, so that's it. This is my breakfast. I'm going to go enjoy this. And then probably after that I'll work out, and I have to make something before I go work out. So I'll see you later for that. Yeah. All right, see you in a bit. All right, so I normally have these prepped already for lunch, but I ran out and I didn't make more because I wanted to show you how I make it. So we're gonna make these before we go to our workout. I'm gonna make my high protein roll recipe, like dinner rolls. This is a gluten-filled recipe. Cannot make this gluten-free. You would need a totally different recipe. What you could do is you could use a regular you could use a regular roll recipe that's vegan, and sub part of the flour for unflavored, unsweetened protein powder, but I have not tested it, so you would need to experiment. The nice thing about these kinds of baking powder leavened rolls is that it's really easy to experiment, and you can always cut the batch in half or even in a quarter if you're scared to mess it up, and then you won't have wasted that many ingredients. You'll just have to make a bigger batch if it works out. So anyway, this is what I'm using for the flour. This is Vital Wheat Gluten, which is regular wheat flour that's had everything except the protein stripped out. So this is incredibly high in protein. A 1/4 cup of this is 120 calories and 24 grams of protein, with only 2 grams of fat and only 3 carbs. I don't care about carbs, but I do just kind of monitor mine. I do not cut my carbs. I don't follow keto or anything like that. It's just information that I play around with to see how it makes me feel If I eat lower carb in the evening, no carbs, I still eat lots and lots of carbs. I love fruit. But if I eat like a little bit less starch in the evening, I find that I digest while I sleep better. So it's just information. Anyway, okay, so the first thing that we have to do is we're gonna have to blend silken tofu and soy milk. And this gives the rolls more protein and a very luscious consistency. If you cannot have soy, what you could do is you could probably sub the tofu out for like vegan yogurt, plain unsweetened, and that should work. You could also try blending cooked white beans with the unsweetened, plain flavored milk of your choice, like almond milk or something like that. That would work pretty well. I have not tested it, but basically you're just looking for something that's thicker consistency than plant milk. It doesn't need to be fatty or anything like that. It just helps give the rolls a nice texture, because we're not using vegan butter or any type of fat in this recipe, because I wanted to keep the recipe low fat. There's a little fat in the tofu, but very little. And then I have a little bit of unsweetened soy milk. Again, use whatever non-dairy milk you have to make sure it's unsweetened and unflavored, because vanilla might not work. You could make a sweet version of this recipe, but that's not what we're doing here today. I'm gonna blend this up. That's it. Just blend it until it's pretty good. It is like basically just a very thick soy milk right now. So we'll set that aside for right now, and what we'll do first is mix our dry ingredients. And by the way, I did preheat the oven to 350, so just keep that in mind. We have Vital Wheat gluten here. I have measured this out using my food scale. I highly, 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 highly recommend doing that. It just creates a much more accurate baking experience. If you measure by cups, you could be packing too much or too little flour in, and it could mess up your whole recipe. So just recommend doing it by grams. My Vital Wheat gluten in the bowl, and then I have nutritional yeast, which adds a lot of flavor. It does not make it taste cheesy. It adds like a savory flavor. It also adds a little bit more protein. And then here I just have some spices. You can use whatever spices you want. If you do not use salt, you could thin miso paste, or you could blend it. Actually, you could just blend the miso paste into your soy milk mixture. And I absolutely recommend using baking powder because it gives them a nice rise. You can technically do the recipe without baking powder. I just find that they're a little bit more dense. And then I'm using granulated onion and granulated garlic. You could vary up the spices, like use chipotle powder, use curry powder. This recipe is inspired / modified from a recipe I found on YouTube from Mrs. Slim on Plants. I'll leave her channel in the description box below. I've seen this recipe in other places too, so I don't really know where exactly it originally came from, but I've modified the recipe quite a bit because I didn't have access to the same kind of tofu that she used, so I had a much higher, I had to mess around with the amounts a lot. I'm also using different spices in a slightly different method. So we have, but it's a really great original recipe to mess around with. And then I'm also adding dried chives into the mixture because I love the flavor. I'm gonna whisk this together. So I'm gonna create a well in the center of my dry ingredients. And then I'm going to add the contents of the blender to the bowl. And then I'm going to start folding in the dry ingredients. It's gonna get hard to mix soon. We don't want to over mix it. We just want to make sure all the dry ingredients are well incorporated. We're going to get a very thick, sticky, wet dough, but it should still be malleable. It's gonna be a wetter dough than the high protein bagel recipe from a few videos back. I will link that somewhere in this vicinity and in the description box below. I'd say it's a little easier to do this recipe because you just don't have to make the bagel shapes, although this recipe can be a bit stickier and harder to work with. I think this is just slightly too sticky, so I'm just gonna add a little bit of Vital Wheat gluten, just a little bit. It can vary up a little bit every time you make it, just because it depends on how much you scraped out of the blender. And I totally broke my own rule of not weighing how much I just added, so make sure that you weigh it. But what you're looking for is a very thick dough that is only slightly sticky. sticky. It might kind of stick to your fingers a little bit, that's okay. We're gonna use just a slight touch of cooking spray on our hands to make sure that it doesn't totally just stick to us. That's pretty good. Oh yeah, that's what I want. It's a big dough blob now, and I'm gonna get a plate and I'm gonna weigh it so that we can equally portion it. You don't have to do this part. You can just rip off chunks and move on to the next portion. I'm gonna weigh them just so I'm a little bit more accurate. I mean, I did just add a tablespoon without measuring it. All right, so I'm gonna put this on my scale. I'm gonna zero it out, and then I'm gonna put my dough blob on there. Okay, so that says 915, about 91 grams per roll. You can make these bigger. They will be more calories, but they'll also be more protein. You can also just make them, you can also make them smaller. I like this with about 10 servings per recipe because then I get about 30 grams of protein and it's around 170 calories. So that's a really good ratio and they're really delicious. So I'm gonna zero that out. I'm just gonna add just a little spray to my hands. Yes, I realize that technically that makes it a non-oil-free recipe, but we're talking like a minuscule amount here. I'm just gonna take off a portion, that was too much. We're looking for 91, that's perfect. I'll zero that out for the next time. And then what I'm gonna do is, I'm just making a dough ball. You don't even have to do this. I'm just doing it so that they look nice and uniform for photos. So there's one. I'm just gonna place it on the tray. And then I'm just gonna repeat this process until I have 10. You don't have to use the cooking spray if you don't want to. They'll still turn out, they'll just, might be a bit more of a pain to work with. I have found that sometimes these do expand so much that they do stick together, but they come apart pretty easily with no big deal. If you want to split it between two trays, you totally can. But there we are, there is our tray. I'm gonna pop this in the oven for about half an hour. Could be a little bit less, could be a little bit more, depending on your oven and how hot it gets. What I will say is that you should check it after 25 minutes and use a spatula to pick up one of them and check the underside. When it's done, it'll have like a nice medium brown color and crust on the bottom, and then you just let them cool and they're totally awesome. So I will show you what they look like when they're done, and they look perfect. Yes, some of them kind of stuck together, but I'll show you what I do. Just literally pull them apart. They're fine. It's best to do this, it's easiest to do it when they're still hot, but it doesn't really matter. And yeah, see, we have a little bit of browning going on the bottom. These are kind of hot. So I'm gonna let these cool and I'm gonna go work out, and I will see you when I get back. Okay, I just got back from my workout. I'm hungry, I'm going to eat. I'm going to take a bun. I'm going to have these two little vegan egg bites that I made. I'm working on this recipe. If you want the recipe, just let me know. And maybe I'll do my next video, these included. I don't know, we'll see. And I have an apple, which is a pretty big apple. Cosmic Crisp are the best apples and you can't change my mind. And water. Let's tear into one of these. I will tell you, this is definitely a unique texture for a Vital Wheat gluten bun, but the trade-off is that ton of protein and really satisfying. So I'm gonna show you. Definitely has just a slightly spongy texture, but I find it really delicious and awesome. I will show you how I store these, but I refrigerate mine because there's no preservatives or anything, and I just want them to stay good. They stay good for like more than a week. I don't know how long exactly, because I think about 10 days. I think I ate one of these a day, and I think maybe my spouse had one, so maybe they last 9 days, but I feel like they last 10, but they're really delicious. Show you these egg bites that I'm working on are delicious. The dark stuff that you see is just sun-dried tomatoes. The oil-free kind that come in a little bag and at Trader Joe's. Oh, you can buy them elsewhere too. And yeah, so I'm gonna enjoy my lunch. Altogether, I think this is about, I wanna say it's like 40 grams of protein. The buns are about 30 grams of protein. The egg bites, maybe it's more like 14 for the egg bites for 2 of them. So like 45 grams of protein, 44 or something like that. I think it's pretty awesome. I just lifted a bunch of weights, so I definitely wanna capitalize on those gains. So I'm going to eat, and then I will see you for dinner. This is the second time I'm filming this because it didn't pick up my voice, but I'm storing the buns in a food storage bag, just a reusable food storage bag that I've had forever, which is why it looks like this. But lasts a whole lot longer than something that is disposable. So then I'm just gonna close this. Any resealable container is fine. And when I reheat them in the air fryer because I don't have a toaster oven. for about 310 for about 5 or 6 minutes because I like a crusty exterior, but you could reheat them in the microwave if you want them super soft. All right, it's almost time for dinner, but I realized that I'm out of the chocolate pudding I've been eating for dessert, so I'm gonna make more. And it doesn't really need a lot of time to set up. It gets quite thick, but I like it cold. So I'll stick one of these in the freezer to get cold. Don't have all matching containers, but it's fine. So I have some extra firm tofu here. So there's that. And then I have soy milk here. You can use any kind of non-dairy milk. I'm going to add a little more than half of it. I meant to add half of it, but I'm just going to start with a half, and I'll add more if I need more. And then I have cacao powder. Cocoa powder is fine too. This is just what I have. And then I'm using stevia to sweeten it to keep the calories low because I've lost over 165 pounds, and which is awesome, but like, the first 150 of that were pretty easy. I mean, the first 100 were really easy, like comparatively. I'm not saying it's easy, it's hard, you know, but comparatively, these last 10 pounds have been ridiculously hard, and right now it's really hard. So I'm just having to pay really close attention to my calories, and I can't afford the extra calories to use like a higher calorie sweetener. So if you're not at that point, and you want to use a more natural sweetener, you could definitely do a couple of pitted medjool dates. That would be perfect. Date paste, date syrup, maple syrup would be great in this. This is just what I'm working with today. Luckily, it works with any sweetener. I've made this before with maple syrup and with actual dates, and it turned out great. This is powdered peanut butter, so it's a lot lower in fat than regular peanut butter. If you're using regular peanut butter, totally fine. You might need more or less liquid. All right, and now we're gonna blend it up, and we'll add more soy milk if we need to. All right, so it looks like this is actually looking like a perfect consistency. There's just a little bit of cocoa powder or cacao powder stuck on the side of the container, so I'm just scraping that down, and I'll blend a little bit more, but otherwise I think this is the perfect consistency. Now is also a really good time to taste it and make sure that it's sweet enough. It's delightful. Oh, and we had added about 2/3 of the milk, and that was perfect, which is great because it makes this pudding 95 calories a serving with 10.6 grams of protein, which is pretty awesome if you ask me, especially considering there's no protein powder. You could add protein powder if you want to. Look at that, that's awesome. All right, I forgot, I still need to blend it just a little bit more. Perfect. All right. This is an awesome consistency. It will thicken a little bit more in the fridge, but it's perfect if you ask me. Now we're going to weigh the mixture, and I'm a little crazy. I know the weight of the empty blender carafe because I weigh my food a lot. So I weighed it one time just so I knew. It is 1,034 grams. So I'm going to weigh what's in here. Now we have to have a little bit of a margin of error here because we're not going to be able to scrape every single last little bit out of the blender. That would just be really annoying too. So I'll show you what I do. The whole thing weighs 1,749 grams. So I'm going to type that into my calculator. I'm going to subtract 1,034 because that's the weight of the empty carafe. We have 715 grams. So I'm actually going to account for like maybe 50 or 50. Let's go with 65. It's an educated guess, but it's actually, we're erring on the side of slightly less calories because we're leaving some of those calories behind in the blender. Plus, you have to understand that even for packaged foods, the FDA allows packaged food nutritional information to be off by a factor of 20%. So your calories could be off 20%. Your calories could be off a little bit. It's not going to be an exact science. What you're doing is you're kind of giving yourself a more accurate guess, but it's still an estimation. Anyway, so that means that we're going to estimate that, let's just estimate that we're going to leave behind about 55 grams in the blender, and just scrape kind of like hiding under the blade, on the walls. We're just not going to be able to get it all. That's just not realistic. So if we have maybe 660 and we divide that by 6, I knew that I could have done that stupid math in my head. That's 110 grams per serving. All right, so I've got my scale. I'm going to put the container on, zero it out, and I'm looking for 110 grams. I'm going to grab my little blender spatula, and I'm gonna pour. See, it's already thickened even more. That's thick. So you could even add more soy milk, which would increase the calories slightly, but what you could do is that it would make even more pudding. Or you could call it a mousse. I might call it a mousse because that sounds fancy. We're almost there. It's still fitting. Got a little room left. Perfect. Look at that. That's a single serving, and you could just put it in a container and just dole out however much you want each night. You could put the container on the scale, zero it out, and then weigh whatever is in there, divide that by the number of servings you want, and then just write that number down and dish that amount out to yourself each night. I just like putting it in the containers, A, so I can grab and go, and B, so that I'm not tempted to just spoon myself out more than a serving size is. It's totally fine to do that because we're not going to demonize food here. No food is bad, and we have to eat to fuel our bodies, and we deserve to eat delicious food. However, if you're trying to release extra weight and it's proving to be a little bit harder than you had hoped, these are useful tools that we can employ, especially when we are people. And when I say we are people, I am a person who does tend to overindulge in things that I enjoy, sometimes to the point of self-sabotage. So we're not about that life. Perfect. Gosh, that's so good. That's number 2. Obviously, you could just estimate this and fill them all till about half an inch from the top, but it's whatever works best for you. Now I have these jars and the last one, and that's perfect. So this one got a little messy, but that's okay. There we have our 6 jars of chocolate tofu mousse / pudding, whatever you want to call it. I love having these as a sweet treat at the end of the night. Plus they're very satisfying. So yes, I will put these in the fridge. In a moment, I will see you for dinner. Okay, so I wanted to keep the video a little bit shorter than the last few videos. I'm trying. I don't know how long. This is probably like an hour-long video. I don't know. Anyway, I'm trying to keep the video short-ish. Trying, being the operative word here. So I didn't take you through how I make my dinner, but it's not a recipe. I'm just showing you how I throw one of my favorite meals lately together, and unfortunately it's not a recipe, but there's no reason for it to be a recipe because it's just a random bunch of stuff. So here we have one bunch of asparagus that I trimmed and just cut into 1-inch-ish sections. And then this is kind of how I dress it basically every night. Sometimes I mix it up, but usually it's basically this amalgamation of things. I have California balsamic, Persian lime balsamic. For this recipe, I prefer the Simply Lemon one, but I was out and I only buy them 3 times a year when they have their sale. Lime is what we're working with, and I think it tastes pretty good. This is the best company for balsamic vinegar. They do not have added oils or sugars. This is simply reduced so that it's sweet and tangy and delicious. They have all kinds of amazing flavors. I don't really exactly measure this, but it's a very small amount, probably half to a full teaspoon. And then I put on some herbs. Lately, I've been loving a combination of marjoram. I use a lot of dried herbs and seasonings because according to Dr. Michael Greger of nutritionfacts.org, they are some of the highest antioxidant and highest nutrient foods, and they're delicious. So yes, that was marjoram, and this is oregano. I have granulated onion, which I'm running low on. I buy most of my spices in bulk, from Frontier Co-op, or sometimes I buy them mostly through Vitacost and iHerb because they have good sales. And then I just refill the spice jars, and that has been the most economical way for me to consume spices, my spouse included. This is organic granulated garlic. I just like onion and garlic on them. And then this is black cumin. It has to be ground to get absorbed. So I just sprinkle on a lot. While that's going, I'm going to add, as I mentioned in the previous video, that I did add a little bit of salt back to my diet to optimize my blood pressure readings. I have definitely done this without salt. I have a couple recipes on my channel for seasoning blends that I make from scratch, and those do not have any salt in them. This is onion salt from Trader Joe's, and this one is only 75 milligrams of sodium per quarter teaspoon, and I think it tastes really good. It's not super salty. And then I do a very light sprinkle of this garlic salt. This is really intensely salty. This one's a quarter teaspoon, has 440 milligrams of sodium, which is a lot. So I'm very light with that. I'm gonna give this a mix now. I forgot to mention that I steamed this asparagus in the microwave. All I did was put a quarter cup of water in the bowl. I don't use a steamer steamer pot, I just don't need it. A steamer, like, I don't need a steamer basket from the microwave. I've just always done it this way. This is kind of how my parents used to steam vegetables too. And I drained off the extra water. I just did 4 minutes in the microwave with a cover. This is the cover that I use in the microwave. It works really well. Here's the pasta that I'm going to use. This is edamame, 1.5 servings of this edamame pasta. Only has organic edamame beans in it. This 3.5 ounce serving, this is mixed with something else, I'll tell you in a minute. But there's a 3.5 ounce serving here, has 44 grams of protein, which is kind of excessive, but I swear this stuff tastes so good. I love the texture. And then I mixed it with a whole box of this Hearts of Palm linguine from Trader Joe's. This one is great. I put a little bit of this nutritional yeast nacho spice on it, and then I put some of this onion salt on it too. You could totally use like my silken tofu cheese sauce with this recipe. I'm gonna come out with an Alfredo next week, I think, at least very soon. You can basically do anything you want. I actually just really like it seasoned, and I don't feel the need to have a sauce. It also helps me save calories to not have a sauce. I'm getting this everywhere. I'm just gonna add sauerkraut, and then I'm gonna do a little bit of these pickled beets. These are also fermented pickled beets. It's not the pickled beets that you can buy like in a can that are just like vinegar and sugar and salt. These are actually fermented, so they're good for your gut, and they just taste friggin' delicious. Here is my dinner. It's very large, makes me feel very full. I'm very happy about it. I will enjoy it. I'm gonna go eat this and I'll see you for dessert. Okay, now I have my various assortment of dessert items. I kind of like to draw out dessert and make it feel like it's extra special because I used to have a really big problem with eating late at night. I would do well all day and then just kind of binge at night, and I don't know if that's you, but I kind of like to make room for a lot of dessert, but lots of, fairly low calorie things. So it feels like a lot and it helps me feel full, which I already kind of had like a filling dinner. So you might not have room for all this in your stomach, so definitely listen to your hunger fullness cues. I'm not advocating for stuffing yourself. I leave room for this every night in my stomach and in my calories. So that's just something that I like to do, and then I stop eating, I brush my teeth, and then I'm just done eating until breakfast the next day. And that, has helped me overcome that very strong habit that I had built over many, many years. It looks like a lot, it is a lot, but it's all pretty good stuff. So we have grapes, we have blueberries and strawberries. This is the chocolate pudding that we made earlier. See how much it thickened up? Fluffy and amazing. I'll actually, look at that. That is definitely that's not even pudding, that's just definitely mousse. I'm calling this mousse. You can argue with me if you want. Maybe you're gonna think it's pudding, it's just thick pudding. I don't know. I think it's mousse. I think it's delicious. I have more yogurt. Yes, I have morning yogurt and I have evening yogurt, okay? And this is my evening yogurt, and my evening yogurt is what I call my peanut butter yogurt. I mixed peanut butter powder into this and just a little bit of stevia to make it sweet, because otherwise it's just unsweetened yogurt and peanut butter powder. I don't know, I just like it, and I don't mix it in fully, so there's little clumps of the peanut butter powder, and they're not powdery clumps, they're like gooey clumps, if that makes sense. I don't know, it makes me feel like I'm eating regular peanut butter, but I'm not trying to demonize regular peanut butter. I just can't control myself around it, so this is how I deal with that. And then I'm having a Cove soda. These are zero sugar probiotic sodas from Costco, and I just like to drink them when I feel like having a soda, and I try not to drink soda anymore. So, all right, that's it for dessert. I'm gonna go enjoy this, and then I'm gonna be done eating. So thank you so much for joining me for this full day of eating. I hope you got some inspiration. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave me a comment in the comment section below. Please be nice about this video or what video you want me to make next. And if you haven't already, please give this video a like, give it a thumbs up. That helps the video reach more people. And if you haven't joined us yet, please hit that subscribe button. Would love to continue to grow the channel and bring you more videos. So yeah, thank you and have a great day/night. Bye.